Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, talking to you from the Overflow Room and bringing you another in the endless series of absurdly large, unlistenably comprehensive boxed sets that seem to be coming out thickly and furiously. And this one is, wait till you see this one. Oh my God. John Eliot Gardiner, the complete recordings on Archive production and Deutsche Grammophon. Look at this sucker. It's 104 CDs, which is basically the same size as that Previn box we just talked about. And it's actually, in some ways, how do I say this? Gardiner really got around. It's really kind of amazing what a lucky sucker he was, because he had Philips, which is now Decca, and Deutsche Grammophon Archive, and Erato, all going crazy recording his stuff. But to a large extent, the best of what he did is not this stuff. Some of it is. Some of it is splendid. I'm not. You'll see. We'll deal with it when we get to it. But really, for my money, the most interesting stuff he did was, for example, Handel and Gluck on Decca, and a lot of the similar repertoire that he did for Erato, including some, Berlioz and Verdi Requiem. Those things are on Philips Decca or Erato. They are not here. An astonishing amount of stuff here. Discs, let's be clear, discs 1 through 21 and 22 through 36. So that's 1 through 36. And then another 63 through 89 consists of only 3 composers, Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart. And between them, we have 36 discs, and then 63 to 89 is 26 discs. So 36 plus 26 equals, unless I miss my guess, let's see, 36 plus 26 is 36, 46, 50, 62. More than half, way more than half. And the rest of it, well, some of it's very good, and some of it's kind of less good. And particularly these DG recordings contain what I call his normal repertoire with the NDR Symphony Orchestra, which was not his strongest stuff, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now, let us open the box, which in this case it's one of these, oh dear, it's a lid thing here. It comes off, and just opening these things. Once you've opened it, you feel so rewarded, you almost don't want to even continue. There we go, it comes off, which is good. I like this kind of box because it doesn't slide out from the bottom. At least there's something to kind of latch onto here. And you get a fairly substantial book. Here is the fairly substantial book, which contains a very complete track listing. So all we need to do is look at the book, thank God, instead of pulling all these things out one at a time and go through it. But we are going to go through it, basically. But because so much of it is grouped by composer, we'll be able to make a fairly short work of large chunks. So this talk is not going to take an hour and a half. I hope I can get through it in half an hour. Let's see what happens. I mean, I know you guys have been very gracious in allowing me to blather on endlessly, but I really do think it's better to finish it sooner rather than later. All right, let's talk about Bach. First, we're dealing with Bach. You get the Christmas Oratorio, and let's see, after the Christmas Oratorio, you get the St. Matthew Passion, and these are with a largely consistent cast: Anthony Rolfe Johnson, Andrea Schmidt, Barbara Bonney, and Sophie von Otter. Who these people are. They're the Gardiner people, the Gardiners. The St. John Passion, and let's see what else. The B minor Mass, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and then the Magnificat, which is like the fastest ever, and then a bunch of cantatas. I'm just making sure that we have all of the cantatas here. He did not do a complete cantata cycle, as you may recall. That little bit of psychotic egomania was reserved for his own modestly named label. I don't even remember, what is it called? Soli Deo Gloria or something like that? I don't know, some horrendously pretentious, quasi-religious, spiritual title. And then so the rest of these things, oh gosh, it's just lots and lots of cantatas. And that's that. And then we get up to CD 22. So let's talk about Gardiner's Bach. Gardiner's Bach, like just about all of his stuff, really is fundamentally based on the kind of interpreter he was. He was not ever very passionate, not very emotional. He was more given to precision and accuracy. He had a good sense of drama, a fine feeling of timing. He had his chorus drilled to within an inch of its life collectively, which was a good thing in this music. He got some excellent soloists to work with him. And because all of this music, we tend to want to give Bach the personality of its conductor, but it isn't conductor's music, basically. And the conductor is merely accompanying, even though he wants to be in charge of everything. And of course, he gets credit for all the noise everybody makes. But essentially, from a technical point of view, from a time beating and conducting point of view, it's rather easy music to do. And most of what you're doing is accompanying. And Gardiner is a very fine accompanist. He really is. It's one of those circumstances. It's a lot like Robert Shaw, you may recall, who did stunning choral music, but when he was called upon to do orchestral work or work away from the act of mere accompanying, he wasn't so interesting because his gifts were largely those of an accompanist, those of securing good rhythm and tight ensemble and clarity of texture. All of those things are all wonderful things. But when it comes to the evocation of spontaneous emotion or passion or the idea of emphasizing certain things so as to bring home moments of particular pathos or intensity, not so much. Not so much. The performances that I enjoy, I think the St. Matthew Passion here is great. The Magnificat, as I said, is incredibly fast and efficient, but also incredibly exciting. The B minor Mass, I think, is excellent. It was always one of the best ones on period instruments when it came out. It's noteworthy more for its clarity and sharpness of outline than for any sort of, high emotion. I mean, there are more moving accounts of the Crucifixus. There are more exalted accounts of the Sanctus. But as a performance on the whole, in terms of its technical merit, it's very, very, very good. Now, Gardiner's cantatas, this partial pile of cantatas, are a very, very mixed bag. Partly it's on account of the soloist, partly it's because I'm not sure that he was equally inspired technically into the job of making something out of him. And this is true also in his Bach cantata Pilgrimage, that crazy thing he did for his own label, which is just, some people love them. I think that they are very, very patchily recorded and patchily conducted and sung. And that's how I feel about his cantata cycle, the partial cycle that we get here in the box. Now, you can go and look up reviews of a lot of this material on classicstoday.com. It was covered over the years, and particularly by my colleague David Vernier, my partner at Classics Today, one of the co-founders, who is a superb Baroque choral music guy. And he reviewed a lot of these too. And I think his reviews are extremely meaningful. And I don't think we need to talk about them more because there's some good ones and some bad ones. And that's all you need to say about it. That's really it. So after Bach, we come to Beethoven. Beethoven. Gardiner did tons of Beethoven. And first we have his symphony cycle. Now, when his symphony cycle came out, it was probably the best period instrument cycle going because one thing Gardiner really was able to do is get good sounding period instrument performances in the sense that the ensemble, the Orchestre Révolutionnaire et Romantique, he comes out with these very, very modest and humble names for his ensembles. They really played well, and he conducted swiftly and excitingly, and it sounds good. Now, however, the performances haven't worn so well in the sense that, when you want a great Beethoven cycle, you want more than that. You want more than accuracy and efficiency. Gardiner was very big. You may remember some of his interviews. He was very big on talking about details of sonority and letting that speak for him. He didn't have major conceptions of the music. He said, well, listen to the small bore trombones, listen to the Erard harp, listen to this, listen to that. This is what he did the Symphonie Fantastique. He didn't say, oh, it's a psychotic hallucinatory experience that's expressively, unbelievably intense and imaginative. That wasn't his style. Now, we get the piano concerti with Robert Levin on the forte piano. I think these on the whole are better than the symphonies. Why? Because you get Robert Levin on the forte piano. He's a wonderful, wonderful keyboard artist. And the performances, I think, have more personality when you've got two participants than when you have just one. And Levin also was somebody who was very much his own person. He was not going to be cowed by Gardiner trying to impose his concept of accuracy or whatever on Mr. Levin. You also get the choral fantasy with two alternative improvised introductions. I mean, I couldn't care less about that stuff. I really couldn't. But some people may. And so that was very nice. So we get that. Then we have the Beethoven second in the chamber version for piano trio, again with Robert Levin, which is very nice to have. The violin concerto with Victoria Mullova. Now, Mullova is wonderful. I like Victoria Mullova. And one of the things that's very interesting, I just have to point this out, is that there has never been a great performance of the Beethoven violin concerto on a period violin. It just doesn't work. I mean, it's been done, but are they great performances? No, not at all. But this is a very, very good performance with Mullova. The accompaniment is perky and together, and I think Mullova sounds actually considerably better than the orchestra in many places. But thank God we have a real virtuosa in this case, violinist playing the violin part. Okay, next comes the Missa Solemnis. It's interesting. It's a fairly swift performance. It's 71 minutes. It's almost the same as sort of Klemperer, to be honest with you. I mean, these are not people who I think Klemperer was about 72 minutes. I don't know, maybe a little longer. But Mrs. Solemnis recordings tend to come in between 70 and 80 minutes on the whole. And this is a fairly uninteresting Mrs. Solemnis, in my view. You cannot play the Mrs. Solemnis like the B minor Mass. It's so much more than just technical accuracy and rhythmic acuity and speed. The Mrs. Solemnis is just one of those pieces that needs to be interpreted. You have to take risks. You have to try and figure out where you want the music to go completely crazy, how you're going to handle the trumpets and drums in the Agnus Dei, how you're going to make the manic ending of the Gloria come off, how you're going to have that unbelievable fugue at the end of the Credo, how the solo violin is going to play the prelude to the Benedictus. I mean, all these things, they scream out for a personal touch, for something that renders the music somehow poetical, and the music is a sense a cloak, that is reaching beyond for something. I mean, you've got to have that sense of spiritual ecstasy and intensity. It's not something that you can describe by technical means. It's not something that you can even really agree upon. No two people will agree upon what that consists of. It's something you feel rather than describe. And this performance just hasn't got it. It's just solid. And that's all I can say about it. Then we get up Perfido and Calm Sea and Prosperous Voyage and the Mass in C. Similar performances to before. Charlotte Margiono is the soprano, Catherine Robin the mezzo. I mean, they're good. They're good, but it's just funny. It's funny. I can only speak personally for how little inclined I felt over the years to return to these. I had them all as single CDs when they came out. I still have a lot of them. I didn't trade them in. They're really good just to sort of check in on the music and see what it's doing. But as enormously emotional experiences, they just don't hit me. And you may feel differently. Then we get Leonore, the opera. Leonora, the opera. This is the performance that was included in the big Beethoven box. It's the prototype for Fidelio. I really prefer the final version of Fidelio. This is as good a Leonora as you'll probably hear. It's very, very good, but I just don't think the opera is very special in this early version, even though there's some music that you don't hear in the later version. Then we get interviews on Beethoven with John Eliot Gardiner in English, auf Deutsch, and en français. Oh my, isn't that amazing? We get all of these, and I couldn't care less about any of them. I didn't listen to them, will not. Okay, after Beethoven, we're already at disc 37. See how well this is going? The War Requiem. This War Requiem is a boring, badly recorded, soggy, uninteresting War Requiem, and there is nothing else you need to know about it. Gardiner should have known better. He also did the Spring Symphony and the Hymn to St. Cecilia, possibly because the Spring Symphony is with the Philharmonic. It was recorded in the UK. It sounds a lot better than the War Requiem, which was done in some big echoey German room with big echoey Germans. I don't know. It's a decent Spring Symphony, but there are several others, and we've talked about some of them already that are just enormously better. There is Previn, there is Britain's Own, there was the Hickox recording, I think, on Chandos. I don't know. There are a few. They're all better than this. So we don't need to bother with his Britain. Let's see. He also did 5 flower songs with the Monteverdi Choir. Very, very good. Brookdale Mass number 1. Now, this is with the Vienna Philharmonic and the Monteverdi Choir. Boy, it doesn't sound good at all. It really doesn't. It's a trudgy, dour, kind of glum performance. My colleague Victor Carr reviewed it for ClassicsToday.com, and his review is spot on. Absolutely spot on. It's a performance of just glumness. Bruckner is serious always. He's always serious. He's Bruckner, he's serious guy. And the masses, of course, are terribly, terribly serious. But no. Just not interesting. You can get the Corridon singers on Hyperion. You can get Joachim above all on DG as well. No reason to have this one. It's just miserable. But they did 5 motets at the end, which are quite good. Yes. And then we get Schutz. We get from the Geistliches Concert. We get O Bone Jesu, Fili Mariae. Oh, yeah, it's 1 minute and 42 seconds. Or no, it's 7 minutes and 42 seconds, pardon me. And we get Buxtehude. Oh, yes, the creepy cycle of 7 cantatas, better known as the body parts of Christ, the Membra Jesu Nostri. I think this is the creepiest piece of sacred music in the entire Baroque repertoire, just by concept. Now, I understand the body parts of Christ. It's all very symbolic and very metaphorical. And, it may be that Christ's elbow represents salvation, and his uvula, the condemnation of sinners, and his, well, I don't even want to get into some of the other body parts they don't talk about. I'm so out of sympathy with this, even though the music's very pretty. If you don't know what it's about, it's perfectly fine. If you do look and see what it's about, you just go, oh. I do anyway. Others may disagree, and I don't care. They're free to. All right, Chabrier orchestral music. The usual Chabrier orchestral music, including España, with the fabulous, wonderful Vienna Philharmonic. Again, not terribly well recorded sonically. The performance is okay, but boy, this music has more character than Gardiner brings to it. Holy mackerel! There is so much more color and joie de vivre than Gardiner's just again, efficiency, brusque efficiency. That's the term. Dvorak, Symphonic Variations, and Czech Suite. It's like fun, and some Hungarian dances by Brahms, a batch of them, including the ones orchestrated by Dvorak. It's funny. This is with the NDR Symphony Orchestra. I don't know. I get the idea listening to these records that they were desperately trying to find something that Gardiner could do well, and they were not really successful in doing it. There's nothing wrong with these performances, but gee, why would you get Gardiner and the NDR Symphony Orchestra in any of these pieces? I mean, the question is, what does he bring to the table? The answer is nothing. They're nice, efficient, well-played performances. But wow, there's so many grand, wonderful performances of this music out there. So what's the point? Then we get Elgar in the South, Introduction and Allegro, Sospiri, and the Enigma variations. And this, again, this is with the Vienna Philharmonic, and it's lousy. It's really completely uninteresting, and the Vienna Philharmonic doesn't sound so great in a lot of it. I mean, the conclusion is it has an organ theoretically, it barely registers, and in the South, wow, in the South should just be, this big Straussium exordium, and it just isn't. It's just a slog, frankly. And it's not that slow. It's a slog because it's just expressively uninteresting. There's just none of that sense of aha, we're in the South. Isn't it great? Come join me in wonderful sunny Italy. No. There's no sunshine in these performances. Oh, well. Partly it's just a question of texture, of not having the orchestra play the music. Gardiner focuses his attention a lot on things like string articulation, and it's wonderful to hear string articulation. But he's one of those guys who does not know how to make a big orchestra play loudly. He's fine. He's fine in quiet moments, when things get chambery, when he can, micromanage certain bits. But when it's all just supposed to come out in this huge outpouring of sonic splendor, he doesn't know what he's doing. He just doesn't. The orchestra does, but you get the sense that he's really getting in the way, that he's working on details to the detriment of the big picture. And that's how I feel about his Elgar. But then we get Handel. Now, Gardiner's Handel is largely marvelous, and he did a lot of it, but most of it is not on DG or Archive, unfortunately. So we have Acis and Galatea with Norma Burroughs, Anthony Rolfe Johnson, Martin Hill, Willard White, and in the choruses, you get a couple other people. There's including, Anthony Rolfe Johnson, Martin Hill. Is he here? Oh, he was already here. The chorus is made up of most of the soloists with one extra person, with Paul Eliot, and you have the English Baroque soloists, and the usual people. It's a very good performance of the slimmed down Acis and Galatea. I am a fan, an unabashed fan of using the largest possible forces that Handel would have expected in his day. Not necessarily Handel festival performances of 500 players, right? You don't need that. But a chorus should sound like a chorus, not a bunch of soloists. And in Acis and Galatea, there are authentic parts. There's a carillon part. There's all kinds of other stuff that Handel wrote that people leave out nowadays. Why? I mean, the answer is not musical. The answer is just financial. It really is. It's because it's cheaper to do it with fewer people. And I find that annoying. A recording is either done in a deluxe, as a deluxe product, or it's just, they shouldn't do it. This is a beautiful performance of Acis and Galatea. It really is. But I just prefer versions that have more fullness, because Handel was that kind of a guy. Handel was a sound guy. He was into the sensual quality of sound, and you have to bring that out. If you need a few more players to do it better, use them, for heaven's sake. All right, then we get Hercules. This is an absolutely fabulous Hercules. It's with John Tomlinson, Sarah Walker, Anthony Rolfe Johnson, Jennifer Smith, Catherine Denley, and Peter Savage. It's really, really good. And Sarah Walker does a superb job with Dejanira's Mad Scene, which is like one of the greatest mad scenes in the history of all music. Where shall I fly? Where hide this guilty hand? Oh my God, it's fabulous. And it's the only time I've ever known that snake could be an adjective, in an operatic aria. When she's talking about, see the snaky whips they bear. They're snaky. What howlings rend my tortured ear. Oh, it's great. And it has, I think one of the all-time greatest descriptions of madness in English anyway, in any aria. I mean, it's not really even an aria. It's a recitative arioso thing. It's indefinable because it's a mad scene. And one of the great things about Handel is that when he did madness, he was crazy. He let the music go crazy. It's just fine. The line is, "No rest the guilty find from the pursuing furies of the mind." Oh, isn't that? Don't you just want to hear someone sing that? Alas, alas, no rest the guilty find from the pursuing furies of the mind. Ah! I can't do the coloratura. You're lucky I don't try, but I want to. Next, Haydn. Okay, The Seasons and the Creation. Very, very good. Very sensible, very well conducted. And, again, not my favorites. Just not my favorites. I can listen to them and enjoy them. I do enjoy them. I enjoy them for their considerable musical virtues. I truly, truly do. But I just don't find them exalted and powerful enough. I mean, they're neat and clean, but everything Gardiner does is emotionally a bit tight-fisted. He's squeezing his butt cheeks together just a little too hard when the music wants you to just go for it. And it's not his style. It's just not his style, let's face it. Okay, Franz Lehar, The Merry Widow, with Bryn Terfel, Barbara Bonney, Bo Scovus. This is really good. It's really good. It's totally humorless because everything Gardiner didn't have a shred of humor in him, but it's well done. It's well sung. It's well played. And it's a decent modern Merry Widow. You're not going to have a great time with it, maybe, but it certainly gets the music across well. Mahler, Songs of a Wayfarer, Zemlinsky, Six Gesänge, Mahler, Rückertlieder, and Sophie von Otter, NDR Symphony Orchestra, Glacial. Von Otter has, I think unfairly, sometimes a reputation as being a cool singer, but here, with a cool conductor, the cool singer and cool conductor give you very cool performances of almost hysterically passionate music, and I have no patience for it. None. Mendelssohn, Italian Symphony and the Reformation Symphony, and the revised version of 3 movements of the Italian Symphony with the Vienna Philharmonic. Sucks, forget it, uninteresting. This is the bottom line with that stuff. Gardiner often tried to make his points by making a clinic out of his performances. Wow, this is revised, and here's the 2 versions, and you can compare the 2 versions. Wonderful for a symposium. Completely irrelevant as a performance of the music, and I think his Mendelssohn is simply, I find it completely without redeeming social value. I really do. It just bores me. Verdi Vespers. Well, this was a Gardiner specialty. He always did a great Vespers. This is his big statement on the Vespers. I find it very exciting. Some people have found it a little bit too for the same reason people don't like other of his performances. It's just too concerned with the technicalities of trying to position things correctly and make a point of the forces used in the varieties of textures and all that. I think it really works in Monteverdi, and he knows the music. He loves the music. He cares about the music. I get a sense that there's something behind this other than mere efficiency, but you probably already have it. I mean, most people who care about the Monteverdi Vespers will have 1 or 2 of Gardiner's performances, and you don't need to get a 104-disc box for his Monteverdi Vespers. Then we get Orfeo, very, very good Orfeo. This is exciting. I like this Orfeo. It's with Anthony Rolfe Johnson, Julianne Baird, Lynn Dawson, Anne-Sophie von Otter, Nancy Argenta, Mary Nichols, John Tomlinson, Diana Montague, Willard White. Oh, just slews of Monteverdi Orfeo people. What a great piece. This is a very light, lively, joyous performance until the end, of course, when he gets ripped to shreds and his, little bits chomped on by all the animals. But until he gets chomped, boy, this is a terrific Orfeo. And you also get a really good, Il Ritorno di Ulysses. Yeah, no, this is Orfeo. And then let's see, the Prologo and the Actos. And then we get, the Incoronazione di Poppaea. Popea, the good one. This was also, I did an interview with him about this performance, and it was, well, never mind. I didn't find him to be a particularly interesting or pleasant interviewee, shall we say, but I don't think that really matters. This is really a fine, fine performance of such a terrifically wonderful opera. And if you know this opera, you must also listen to Handel's Agrippina, which is fantastic. And of course, Gardiner did an Agrippina, but the Agrippina is not in this box because it was for Phillips, as far as I remember. I just, why not get it all together and put it all together? All right, now we come to Mozart. Mozart, oh God. The piano concertos with Malcolm Bilson. This is still the best Mozart piano concerto cycle on forte piano. I mean, for some reason, Mozart really struck a chord with Gardiner, and his Mozart is really, really pretty damn fine. And the operas are terrific. Some of the best ones on period or modern instruments. They really are. So I enjoy these performances on forte piano. I really do. I tend to prefer Mozart piano concertos not on forte piano. And with modern forces, I think they sound better that way. But I can't take away from the achievement here. It's first class of its kind. And I will not criticize it otherwise. But for the operas, let's see, we get Idomeneo. These are all really good. And I can't talk about the details. I really can't because it will take forever. But Idomeneo comes with a huge appendix, of course, with all kinds of extra stuff that got cut and chopped and sliced. But it's a wonderful Idomeneo. And the abduction from the Seraglio. And they have a text freely adapted. Everybody messes up some of the way they do the dialogue in this thing. But the singing's quite good, and I enjoy it. Marriage of Figaro is fantastic. With Rodney Gilfrey, Hileva, Martin Petit, Alison Hagley, Bryn Tarfel, and other people. I like his Da Ponte operas. They are really, really fine. Wait a minute, who's doing? Yes, here we go. And the Don Giovanni. Now, that's the really great one. This is a terrific Don Giovanni. It's terrific for all kinds of reasons. It's just exciting and dramatic, and it's really well sung. It's again, Rodney Gilfrey, who's a terrific Don, and Andrea Silvestrelli, and Luba Orgadosova, and Christophe Pregardien, and Charlotte Margiono, and Ildebrando D'Arcangelo, and they're all wonderful. It's a wonderful ensemble cast. And the final scene, when the Commendatore comes back for dinner. Oh, wow, with the trombones going crazy. And oh, it's wonderful. It's really scary and dramatic and intense, and in a way that you wish that Gardiner could be in so much other music, But boy, this is really good. He really cuts loose. I just love it. And the Commendatore comes in with, in English, Don Giovanni, I've come for dinner. I hope it's pasta, 'cause I'm hungry. Yes, fantastic. Of course, they do it in Italian. And let's see, Così fan tutte. And you also, of course, get appendices with extra stuff. I mean, Gardiner gives you all these options of extra things and revisions as usual. I mean, the most extreme example of that is not in this box. It was on Phillips. It was the do-it-yourself Berlioz Romeo and Juliet. It was like getting a Heath kit. Remember Heath kits? You build your own microwave oven and all that. Well, this was like build your own Romeo and Juliet. It was so stupid the way to do it. The way to do it is to just play the music. And with conviction, because of the way you're playing the music. And that's what always gets me with Gardiner. You gotta pick your battle and then fight to the death. That's what you need to do. You can't pick your battle and then just say, well, maybe tomorrow we'll try this battle. Yeah? Okay, Così fan tutte, Amanda Rucroft, Rosa Mannion, Rodney Gilfrey, all the Gardiner people. These are really, really fine performances. Beautifully, beautifully played, beautifully shaped, wonderfully sung. Nice casts and really good. Okay, Magic Fluter. The Magic Fluter. This is, let's see, with Harry Pastors, Sydney Seaton, and Christian Uz as Pamina. And let's see, who's the Sprecher and the Königin? Yeah, Cynthia Seaton is the Queen of the Night. I don't think that this Magic Flute is quite as good as the others in the opera series, probably for this very simple reason that the Magic Flute, again, is a piece that requires a certain stylistic and, ambient character beyond just it's, doing the notes well. I mean, I keep coming back to that. I hate to keep repeating myself, but, you got 104 discs of the same interpretive approach. Generally, that's what Gardiner is. So I don't think the Magic Flute is as interesting as the rest. But, and here is something that really annoys me. I was looking for this. I was looking and really looking hard. And I was, I didn't look to see if there's an index at the back of this. No, there isn't. I wish there were. But the bottom line is, this isn't complete. It's not complete. Would you believe it? It's not complete. You know what they left out? They left out Mozart's Thamos, King of Egypt. There's a whole disc of it. It was on Archive. And it ain't in here. Naturally, they left something out. They had to leave something out. Now, if you don't like Gardiner anyway, you may be happy they left something out. But then again, you're not going to buy the box. If you do like Gardiner, you're going to want that, particularly because Mozart's Thamos is a rarity. It's not something that you find all that often, and so you really, really, really want to have it. Damn it, you people. Why can't you get it right? It's so annoying. I'm going through this again and again and again. I look here, and then, wait a minute. Because it's just, see, I can't even tell you because the box here does not tell you on the corner of the sleeve what is on what disc. You get a giant Gardiner instead of like Mozart, the Magic Flute, or Thamos. So who the hell knows if it's here? And I'm not even going to look. If they stuck it in here, they don't talk about it. They didn't tell me. And it's not easy to find, but it's not in here. It's not in there. I'm looking very carefully, 89, 90. I'm trying to find it. I really am. I mean, I'm looking at all the Mozart stuff here. Let's go back even more. I'm going page by page by page. You see me. This is the evidence, folks. You see me doing it. I'm doing it one at a time. There's Idem and Ao. There's operas. They're called operas. Then piano concertos. No, that's it. No Thamos. All right. I've made my point, I think. Probably much less and longer, taking much longer than I should have. Okay, Purcell, the Fairy Queen. Oh, I love this performance. It's just wonderful. It's so much fun to listen to. This was the piece that really got a lot of us hooked on Purcell on period instruments, I think, because, to get like a quasi-complete Fairy Queen, it was so unusual at its time, and it was beautifully produced and packaged, and there was a lovely picture on the cover, and it was a nice, shiny box, and I just loved it. I just like to have it. I actually like to listen to it, too. So that's nice. Rachmaninoff, Symphonic Dances in Janáček Taras Bulba. No, I am not kidding. You will think I'm kidding when you hear the performances, however. They are just not happening. What was that? I have no idea. Schubert, the Gesang der Geister über den Wassern. Oh, that's really fun. That's a beautiful, beautiful work. Very nicely sung by the Monteverdi Choir, coupled with a totally not very interesting Schubert Great C Major Symphony. Now, you know, and I know, and we've discussed this, that the Great C Major Symphony is one of the great challenges in all of music, interpretively. It requires not just insight, but genuine sympathy. I mean, sympathy. Gardiner is never someone you're going to turn to for sympathy. No. Good heavens, not. We're already at disc 94. Schütz, motets and songs. Okay, they're fine. I'm telling you right now, if you like Schütz, go listen to Schütz. Schumann symphonies. Well, you get a couple movements from the Zwickau Symphony that wasn't finished, and then you get the Overture Scherzo and Finale as well, and the Concertstück for four horns, which is really cool to have on period instruments. I mean, it's very, very nicely done, but oh my goodness, these symphonies are not at all interesting, these performances. They aren't. They just aren't. They use Schumann's original orchestrations, and what's fascinating about it is that using period instruments is no benefit whatsoever. There is no additional clarity because the way you get that clarity is through interpretation, not by letting the music speak for itself or letting the instruments do their things. You have to get really actively involved in clarifying the textures and working your way through the thickets of Schumann's excessively dense scoring and figuring out what to do with the woodwinds. And Gardiner just doesn't do it. It's that simple. And you can do A-B comparisons with dozens of other performances that do it. So that's not even a question that his Schumann is irrelevant. The Requiem for Mignon they do, which is really kind of a pretty little 12 minutes of fun. And the Nachtlied, all that stuff is fine. However, he does do Schumann's Oratorio, Das Paradies und die Peri. And that's really pretty damn good. Why? Because he's accompanying. He's got some good soloists. And what is he doing? I mean, he's keeping the orchestra going with underneath Barbara Bonney and Alexandra Koku and Bernarda Fink and Christophe Prégardien and Gerald Finley, and they're terrific. So it's a very good performance. And Gardiner, of course, keeps it moving with his usual, good sense of rhythm, tight ensemble, good pacing. This is the kind of stuff. I wish he'd done more of this. I would really be interested to hear Gardiner tackle the very, very out of fashion 19th century English oratorio tradition, just to see what he could do with some of these pieces. I mean, most of them are awful anyway, I'm sure, but it might be interesting to see because that's the kind of stuff I would think he'd do well. It doesn't require huge gouts of passion. There are no points at which you have to lose your inhibitions, but the kind of ensemble and technical approach that he brings to the music might have done them quite a bit of good. Might have been something worth it, as it does in this case with Schumann's Oratorio. Then there's music by Lily Boulanger, Psalm 24, Psalm 129, the old Buddhic prayer here, and the De Profundis, Psalm 130, and the Stravinsky Symphony of Psalms. No. None of these performances are among the best. They are, not even for the Boulanger stuff, which by now has been recorded multiple times and quite well. I think Gardiner just doesn't have the... you'd think he'd do the Stravinsky really well. And he does do it better, I suppose, than the Boulanger, but it's okay, but not special. If you're looking at competition. If you're looking at this in isolation, you listen to it, you'll say, okay, that sounds nice. And that's about it. Then we get discs 101 and 102. See how far we're going? The Rake's Progress with Ian Bostridge, Deborah York, Bryn Terfel, Anne-Sophie von Otter, Anne Howells, Martin Robson. This is the kind of opera that Gardiner does well. You would think he would do well, and he does do it well. It's a very neoclassical performance, but boy, there have been some great ones by others, like, Kent Nagano, and then there's Chais, and there's all these other people. Is this one of the better ones? I'm going to come down on the side of not really. I think others have put more meat onto the bones of this particular work. And then finally, the Seven Deadly Sins. Yes, he did the Seven Deadly Sins and a bunch of songs, again with Anne-Sophie von Otter, Bengt Forsberg as the pianist in some of the songs with piano, and with the NDR Symphony Orchestra. It's kind of funny that they did this. It's one of the less interesting versions of the Seven Deadly Sins because von Otter just isn't into it. I mean, she's accurate, she is cool, but I want to hear sleaze. I want to hear decadence. I want to hear world-weary, bittersweet. It's just ooze nostalgia. I mean, neither Gardiner nor von Otter are in that league. I mean, I want to hear a chanteuse do it. I want to hear Gisela Mai. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, this is all so tidy. I don't want tidy. I want smarmy. I want scandalous. Come on. When she comes in with Meine Schwester und ich stammen aus Louisiana, wo die Wasser des Mississippi und der Monde fließen. I mean, what? You gotta, it's gotta grab you. It's gotta grab you by the gonads, for heaven's sake. There's no gonads in this performance. Forget it. Missing its gonads. All right. Finally, disc 104, Vienna Soiree. Oh, God, forget it. It's non-Strauss Vienna evenings, Lehar and people and, all those other Rumpel and Stumpfel and Weinschlaber and Dougalfinger and all those people you've never heard of who wrote an aria, an overture or a waltz or an operetta. And, Gardiner should never be doing this stuff. He just shouldn't. My goodness, it's so unsmiling. It's completely lacking in schlag. There's no flagellated cream, as they said in the Hoffnung festivals. And that, my friends, hold it. Let me put this away. CD 100 and, oh God. All right. That's it. 104 CDs of Gardiner. What is good about this? Well, some very good Bach major choral works, especially the Matthew Passion and the B minor Mass. Very good Mozart piano concertos. Mostly splendid Mozart operas. You are missing Thamos, King of Egypt, whatever it's called. The incidental music, which is unforgivable. Some of the Purcell is wonderful. Handel is really good. So let us say out of 104 discs, there may be, let's say 30, 25, 30, I think, that are really, really first class. And the rest you can do without. So that, to me, is not a good reason to buy a 104 disc box. It really is not. Most of this stuff you will have. The Mozart operas existed in their own separate box. There's a box with Gardiner doing all the Mozart operas. If it's still around, get that. You'll be very happy. And the piano concertos came separately boxed. All this stuff came separately boxed. I'm not sure at this point that those things still exist. But I am not coming back to this for much. And outside of his Fach, outside of that early music Fach that Gardiner worked so hard to make his reputation in, what is he doing with Taras Bulba and the symphonic dances? Holy mackerel. What was the point? That's it. That's the answer, folks. Keep on listening. Take care.